I'm a leadership geek.
Professor of Leadership and Personal Growth.
I think a lot of the wisdom we already have inside.
Senior Vice President of Student Affairs.
To me, it's not sharing wisdom. I'm trying to learn their story.
Dr. Mark Warner.
You're going to learn and you're going to enjoy and you're going to find sorrow and you're going to find it all, but that's going to create who you are as a person.
This is The Last Lap.
That's what we got to do. We got to truly live today, and if we do it moment to moment, miracle to miracle, it's going to be a pretty cool day. No doubt about it.
Well, hello, and welcome again to The Last Lap. I'm Mia Brabham, and this is a 10-episode podcast where I interview my favorite and most interesting professors, mentors, and just super cool people during the last 10 days of my undergrad career here at JMU. These are all the questions I've ever wanted to ask them about life, the lessons they've learned, their areas of study and research, and there's something new to take away in every episode for every single person out there listening. Today, we are here with Dr. Warner, the man, the myth, and the legend. He is just seriously the coolest cat around. He has given leadership talks all over the world. He's written 2 books, and he's just an incredibly sweet, kind, genuine person, and any senior will tell you that taking his class senior year is the best experience they've had at JMU. Speaking of, I am joined today by Haley Winter, Hannah Sampson, Hunter Shogren, and Roy Boyd, who were all classmates in Dr. Warner's class and quickly became friends. So without further ado, let's start the show.
Hi, everybody.
I love when you say howdy. That's my favorite.
I do say that, don't I?
Yeah.
So do I sound like I'm from the country or something? You know,
I don't know.
where I was
You just
raised,
sound friendly.
where I was raised in Utah, and everybody said howdy.
Howdy.
I mean, we just said howdy.
Wild West out there.
I didn't realize I said. I don't even think about me saying
But
that.
it makes me so happy because we should bring that back.
Howdy.
I'm gonna make a hashtag. Bring it back.
Bring it back.
Howdy.
Howdy.
I feel like I'm like introducing you in the TED Talks again. Did
Had
you have a good time?
I did.
It was
I had a great time. I had a great
Oh
time.
my god, I was so scared.
Yeah.
I
You couldn't tell. You were the only one who knew
Really?
you were scared.
But you've come a long way, and now you like
And I couldn't speak in public.
tell me.
So it is weird.
It's weird. Is
Yeah.
it still weird?
It is weird. Every time before I talk, I get up and I get nervous before the first word comes out. Mm-hmm. And then once the first word comes out, I'm cool. It's good. But I do a lot of preparation. The less prepared I am, the more nervous I get. So I practice.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's good advice. Maybe I should be more prepared.
No.
Sometimes winging it works, and I feel like sometimes it doesn't.
Well, the only problem with a whole lot of preparation is sometimes you just get locked into what you're going to say, and you can't be quite as spontaneous.
Yeah.
So
What do you do in your free time? Like, what does free time look like to you?
So I'm doing something new that I'm so excited about. I'm learning how to do something called wood turning. So think of a big wooden salad bowl. I'm learning how to make that big wooden salad bowl.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Or I'm learning how to make pens, writing pens. I've got one in my coat pocket over there.
We gotta check it
I'm
out.
learning how to make vases. And it's just so cool. So if you turn wood, people who are wood turners, the first question they ask is, do you have a shop? And I'm like, no, I have a shed. So I have a shed. So the other day I went into my shed. It was 1 o'clock. I went to church, came home. It was 1 o'clock. Jenny was doing something with her mom, and I started turning wood. I didn't look at the clock again for 4 hours. Total absorption, and it was so cool, and I was on another planet, and I don't have a worry in the world what I'm doing. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm on the river. I'm kayaking or fishing or canoeing or hiking, or I'm in the woods hiking.
What's your favorite place in the world? Is it on the river?
My favorite place is on the river. There's something about the flow of water, and even though I put in at the same place every weekend, I've never been on the same river twice. It's just so cool because it's always changing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, do it.
All right, so you teach this class every semester, and a lot of it's same material, but how do you keep bringing that same enthusiasm and excitement, and what keeps you committed to offering this course to students?
You know, I think one of the biggest things is every single experience is I learn a ton from. And all of them have different personalities. And that's one of the really neat things is y'all's class was, the personality was very different than the one I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. And it's just cool to see the different personalities. When I used to teach this class back to back, so I would teach from 3 to 5:30 and 6 to 9.
Wow.
And even then, the personalities of the class would be so different in the same semester within hours apart. And so for me, that part is just so refreshing. Plus, I'm a leadership geek. I love leadership. I love personal growth stuff. So I'm constantly reading and learning new things and trying to bring those into the experience. And whenever I do speeches, 90% of my speeches come from things I prepared for class. People usually think it's the other way around, but it's class, whereas that stuff is like, it's like the incubator for what I try to do.
Have you ever used Flipboard before?
No.
I promise I was not
I don't
paid
know. What is it?
to do this.
What is it?
I really have to answer this in. Here's my single nugget of
Trademark.
wisdom, okay? So it's an app for your phone, for
Okay.
your iPhone, and it's like choose your tags, and you choose any area. So you can choose like hiking, outdoors, and you can do like politics, you can keep up with like elections, to crafting, to like dating, to filmmaking, so anything you're interested in, and it's literally a feed of your news, like every topic you're interested in.
Oh, cool.
And you can save them to boards, so it's like Pinterest.
Yeah, okay.
And so I have a leadership board because I love it, so I follow a leadership tag. Anyways,
Okay, I'll add that.
it's amazing.
I'll add it. I'm excited.
So going off of leadership and all that, one of my favorite parts about the class was I reflect a lot, but I never really thought about my values. And I think it's something we intrinsically think we hold, but to like really sit down and be like, here are my top 5 values. Like, this is what I want from my life and out of my life. That was really powerful, and I had never really thought about it in a structured way, which now I carry with me, and I think that's really cool. But my question for you is, what helped you and influenced you in shaping your values?
I probably really didn't think intentionally about values till I was in college. And I was a psychology major, and I remember doing this little weird activity called values clarification. And I'm like, okay, what's this all about? But what I discovered from doing that was, oh, I've got to learn some more about myself and what's important to me. And I found the how much it actually helped me make my decisions, decide what I'm going to really major in. Because when I became a psych major, I wasn't really majoring in psych. I did
life
it because
major.
I had to. But it helped me with my decision making, and then I became an RA, and I was an RA and a hall director. So a lot of the incidents that I dealt with residents, they were values based, or because people hadn't thought about their values and what's important to them and how they impact lives. So I've always been, I got accused in high school or in college of being a philosophical person.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, philosophical person. And the person who said it to me, I said, I don't even know what that means. What do you mean? And they said, well, you're thinking about values and stuff all the time. And so I guess it just kind of has evolved since then. And my values change, for sure. I mean, for example, family was always important, but when I had my 2 daughters, family shot to the top of the list. And my spiritual life is really strong. So I just think it's cool because it opens people's eyes to themselves. And I think that's so important. I'm always shocked when I see seniors who haven't done much values clarification. And most of them haven't, because it's not something we do in our schools. We just don't do it anymore. And I think it's something we need to do.
I got a follow-up question to that. So, do you think values clarification is more of a discovery process or a creating process? Do you create your values or do you discover your values? And why?
I think they are, I think they're revealed oftentimes by situations we get put into. And so, I mean, we could call that discover. And I think I don't know that we really create them. That's a great question, Hunter. I don't know that we create them. I think what happens is, where the creation would come in, is I say this is a value, but the value evolves in strength. Mm-hmm. And so the more I live that value, the more I create and crystallize what that value looks like. But that's an awesome question. I like that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think in general it's more of a discovery process because like your life and the way your family has raised you and the like situations and the environment you're put in will determine a lot of your values. However, I think it's definitely a discovery process. But I was curious about your opinion.
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Yeah, we're getting deep now. These are like my questions that I have for you that like I've always wanted to ask. As a leader and as anyone, you have this voice, right? And that's powerful to have a voice and to have this sort of just positive influence over people. Does that ever scare you?
Well, I don't know that
People
I get
expect
scared
it.
because I don't think I have a bunch of wisdom. I just talk about what I believe. When I'm talking from my core and from who I am, that's just the natural part of me. So I think the nice part for me is one of the reasons why I wear a tie and a suit is it has given me, by doing that, it has given me opportunities to have a greater influence over more people. And what I worry about is, have I not influenced enough? You know, who am I missing out there? Who haven't I talked with? Because when I'm talking to them, to me it's not sharing wisdom. I'm trying to learn their story and help them figure out what their goals and their dreams and their aspirations are so that they can grow as people. And I want to make sure I don't miss people and they don't fall through the cracks. So that's the part that scares me.
What?
Yeah.
That was great. Well, I don't know. I'm really indecisive, and sometimes I wonder if it's just like an age thing, if it's just this age.
Yes, preach.
Are you all?
It depends on the
Certain
situations
things,
for
yeah.
sure. It's
They can't even make up
situational.
their mind. They're so indecisive. They can't even answer that
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know. I'm really indecisive. I just want to know, when you have a decision to make, who do you go to help you make those decisions? And also, is it a bad thing to go to people to help? Like, to what extent do you think you have to look within yourself for the answer? And then what extent do you like reach out and try to get advice and help?
Yeah. I think you have to do both. I think you have to do the introspection of the wisdom we already have inside. However, I think we also need to rely on other people, because I have a blind spot. I have Mark's view of the world. And if I make a big decision based just on Mark's view, then I'm missing out on all the other perspectives around me. And so I think too often in our society we think we have to make all the decisions by ourselves. We're that independent American. And I think we make much better decisions when we open it up. And we make much better decisions when we have a diverse group of people that we consult with, because folks come in with different perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences. And so I think it's both. But bottom line is, you do have to ultimately make the decision. And so, first of all, you go inside, then you go gather a bunch of information, then you got to go back inside again and do the introspection to make the final call. I use my wife a lot. She's a lot smarter than I am. And so I use her. It kind of depends on the decision, because I have spiritual mentors, I have work mentors, I have life mentors, and so it kind of depends on the situation. The other thing I like to do is I like to ask people I don't know well, because they have even a different view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Anybody have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I mean, something that you've talked about in your own class is the integrity paradigm, and how we have to live in a way that such our talk, our behaviors, and our beliefs and values all line up. And if that's lined up, then like people will see our message evident in our own lives, and that also helps us make some decisions, I think, in itself, to make sure we're not contradicting our own beliefs and values, like you've talked about. So I think it's important to add.
Yeah, definitely.
So I feel like this may be a silly question. I don't know.
Don't hedge.
I
Just
like,
ask the
I like
question.
silly
Do you
questions.
like silly questions?
Go for it.
Okay, so I don't know how to like explain it. I don't even know if I'm gonna use like the right words. Words are just gonna come out. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So your job involves just being around a lot of people, speaking to them, being with them, all that good stuff. How do you deal with bad days? Simply put.
When I'm having a bad day, I will definitely go into introversion mode. I get myself away from people for a couple of reasons. If the bad day is at work, then I don't want my negative influence to affect other people. If it's at home, then I go to the shed. I'll go play. I'll go do something that makes me feel good. So really, if I do have that bad day, because I really don't have very many, I am brainwashed. I will figure out. I will try to find out what is the source and what can I do to fix it. And I had to learn a long time ago to be worried about things over which I have control, not things over which I have no control. And for a long time, I did a lot of worrying about things over which I had zero control. So that was a really important part of my life to finally figure that out. But when I have a bad day, I do something that's going to make me feel good. I know what makes me feel good, and I'll go do that. But it's usually something introverted.
Yeah.
And what is it you also normally say to us is you might have bad moments, bad days, but that doesn't mean a bad life. So just taking it as a bad moment and then dealing with it and not letting it spread and affect the rest of your life.
Yeah, and move on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Good stuff, yeah. So this sort of, I guess, lends off of one of the earlier questions. But I love, there's this Native American proverb, and it's, the heart is the first teacher. And so there's always this battle of, you hear like head over heart, heart over head. Sometimes your gut's thrown in there. Like, don't your gut.
Right.
I'm like, where does this all fall? I don't know. Throw it up in the air, choose one. But for you...
Well, for me personally, it's definitely heart. That's what guides me. Then occasionally what I have to do is pull the head in there and say, okay, Mark, let's be a little more analytical about this.
That's how I am, yeah.
But I make decisions based on heart and relationships and, out there doing my best to make a difference. And so I only use the head when I know that I need to be a little more logical. But even then, it's a fraction. It's a fraction. So I do have to surround myself with people who use their head to make sure I don't make a real stupid decision. But I am very much motivated by what my heart says.
Yeah.
There's a great book called Don Juan and the Yaqui Way of Knowledge, and it's about the Yaqui Indians. And in there, this chief is talking, and somebody came up to him and said, I'm trying to make a decision on a career path. And the chief says, make the decision with your heart, because if you don't, you will do violence to your person. And I've always been thinking, man, that's powerful when you think of violence to your person if you don't follow your heart. And, I think sometimes when we use the head too much, we do shoulds. We do things because we think we should instead of things that are important to us.
Anybody have anything else they want?
I don't know. I feel like
Advice.
I'm the opposite. I think with my head more than my emotions, and it's almost, I think, like a defense mechanism in a way of like thinking things through logically so that I don't get like
Burned by your
burned.
own one.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like I kind of have more of like I'm gonna think it through with like the facts in front of me and then like go from there. Which I don't know. I admire like the no.
Like, teach me more of that.
I think an example of that too is when we talk about trusting people. A lot of times people will say, well, how can you trust somebody or respect them if you don't know them? And my heart will always say, I'm going to treat them with the utmost respect until they disearn it. That's not even a word. Until they no longer earn it.
Until they prove you wrong.
Until they prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And so, but if I get too much in my head mode, it's prove it to me that I can trust you, or prove it to me that I can respect you. And so for me, it is, I will still always go to the heart, and I haven't been burned that many times. You know, I think that's some of what teaches us too, is if you get burned enough, you're going to change whether it's head or heart. And fortunately in my life, I haven't been burned a lot of times. So that makes a difference too.
What if what your heart wants to do, not intentionally hurting someone, but what if the side effect of what your heart wants is hurting someone? What do you do?
Wow. So I'm probably going to need an example.
An example?
Well, I think the emotional thing, it is when you're weighing the decision, that is part of it. You know, because you're not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And that's something we have to learn really at a younger age, that we're just not going to make everybody happy, and if we think we are, we're going to be miserable people. But there's always going to be a trade-off. And so for me, I'm going to have to measure how much potential hurt is there versus how much potential gain is there. And that will help me weigh it out, what kind of decision I make.
Thanks.
Andy Stanley is a pastor at North Point Community Church in Atlanta, and he's written a couple books about leadership. And one of his main points in one of his books says, you need to do for the one what you wish you could do for the many. And that has always resonated with me.
Line.
Because there's going to come a time where you're not going to ever be able to do everything for everyone. His example is that like one of the assistants in his office needed a new printer because it ran out, and so he went out and bought a new printer for her. When then the whole office was like, okay, are we all going to get new printers? Are we all going to? He was like, I can't afford that, you know, but I wanted to show that I want to do for the one what I wish I could do for everyone. Because if you let the idea of, you know, doing something for everyone always stop you, then nothing's really going to get done. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just thought it was a cool thought.
Yeah, it really is.
It's amazing.
It really is.
Obviously, we're learning things every day, but is there like something big that you've learned as of recent?
I think the biggest one is that we don't, how do I say this? I always made the assumption that as you got older, life would just be real flat, real even. I wouldn't learn new stuff. And what I've discovered, I'm learning more today at 59 years old than I ever thought I would be learning. And I'm learning 10 times more than I learned when I was in college. But it's that I still have that thrill of learning something new.
Yeah.
And getting a different perspective on the world and on people. You know, I hear some of my colleagues talking about, not in the college setting, but outside, saying, I'm worried about these college students and I don't know what our world's going to be like. And I'm sitting like, well, then talk to them. Because you're going to learn that our world is in such good hands. And it's going to be such a cool place. And when we're old in the rocking chairs, we're going to be smiling because of what they're doing to the world. And so I feel renewed every day to be able to learn some new stuff. And but the biggest thing I've learned lately is an old person can learn a whole lot more.
To never stop finding wonder in the world around you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's so important.
There's another great one. The author is Rusty Perkins, and he says, live moment to moment, miracle to miracle. And I love that, because if you really live that way, you know, all of our days, if we live today, it will take care of our tomorrows. And that's what we got to do. We got to truly live today. And if we do it moment to moment, miracle to miracle, it's going to be a pretty cool day. No doubt about it.
I should have been taking notes. I feel like I'm
You're
in class
recording
again.
it.
Oh, yeah, true. Whoa, this is recording?
Yeah.
Who knew? All right, okay, so that was that. But, there's a speed round coming up. It's a really quick
speed
round. But before we get to speed round, I want to know this. I feel like maybe we've talked about it, maybe we haven't. This is so random. Would you ever consider getting a tattoo? What would you get? And also, have you ever rode a motorcycle? I don't know why, but
So I won't get a tattoo at this point in my life because it would just wrinkle up. But anyway, if I was ever going to get one, it would be Create a Great Day or Carpe Diem. So it'd be one and a motorcycle. I have ridden on one. I have never driven one. But I've ridden on one. One of my buddies in college, he had a motorcycle, and we would go up into the mountains. And
On your motorcycle? On the mountains?
Yeah.
Aye.
Adventurous.
True adventure. All right. Anything else? Anybody want to add anything before we get to speed round?
I'm ready for the speed round.
Are you ready?
Speed round, let's do it.
Ready?
Right, let's go.
Okay, one, favorite moment in undergrad.
Favorite moment in undergrad. It would be, oh man. How do you do that quickly? Favorite moment in undergrad. It would be something sports related. It would be watching our basketball team go to the NCAAs.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite moment at JMU.
At JMU, it would be, my wife. I mean, we're going that first.
I mean, your wife.
Positive. But other favorite moment, my favorite moment is probably one of the most recent things that I do, and that's look out at the quad and see people out on the quad.
Love that. Okay, your heart song. It's like you embodied in a song, like the tune of it, the words.
James Taylor, you've got a friend. It is.
I love that.
I was thinking,
no one's ever answered that quickly. I'm impressed.
So somebody asked the other day, they said, they asked the question, what would be 5 songs that would describe you? And 3 jumped out of my little tiny brain. You've got a friend, come together, and I just want to celebrate another day of living. And I was like, I think that's it.
Okay, your cry song. Song you cry to.
Right.
Or would make you cry.
It would be probably because I associate it with difficult times in life. So I Hope You Dance.
Yeah. Okay. Moment you felt most alive.
Most alive, jumping out of an airplane.
Wow!
Woo, baby! I'm sitting there, and you climb out of the plane, and you're standing, holding on to this thing by the wing, outside the plane. And the jump master says, jump, and you let go. And so when I went by myself. They didn't do tandem back then. And so jumped by myself.
Are you serious?
And they didn't have walkie-talkies or that. So the first thing you do, you jump out and you have to look on the ground to find this little guy with a 6-foot white arrow telling you which direction to go. So first thing you got to do is find him.
Are you kidding me?
While you're falling?
And it was an army parachute that didn't have brakes.
Oh my god.
And so when you hit the ground, you're slamming. I mean, slamming. But feeling alive, oh my goodness. Totally alive.
Oh my gosh. How do you overcome fear?
I confront it. You know, it's kind of like public speaking. It's like you gotta figure this out. So confront it.
Okay, if you weren't a professor, what would you be?
I might be a river guide.
Ooh.
You can do that in the summer.
Like in a gondola
Yeah,
or something?
I'm thinking I could do river guide stuff. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That'd be awesome. Okay, if you could win an award for anything, what would you want to win?
I mean, it would be
Best wood carver.
Yes.
I think best dad or best granddad. That'd be it. And I'm not a granddad yet, so I'm an optimist.
Best optimist.
Yeah.
Okay, then who would you thank in your acceptance speech?
I would definitely thank my wife. And I would definitely thank my parents because they taught me how to be a dad.
Love. Okay, bonus. That was the last one, but bonus sounds better. One piece of advice for every college student going out into the world in only one word.
One word. That is hard. Live.
No, explain.
So,
So not one word. It was a trick.
I think it's be fully alive. If you live in the moment, then you're going to experience, and you're going to learn, and you're going to enjoy, and you're going to find sorrow, and you're going to find it all, but that's going to create who you are as a person. And so fully live, don't hide from life.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. That happened.
Have fun.
So much fun.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Dr. Warner, for joining us today. You make a difference in my life and in so many others. Thank you, Hunter, Hannah, Roy, and Haley as well. And lastly, thank you, Last Lappers, for listening. I hope you all learned something new today, or at least laughed along a little bit. Subscribe for more podcasts and other stories and video content. If you're listening on YouTube or Facebook, don't forget to leave a comment to answer the takeaway question in the description, because it's really fun and I love the responses. Respond to any of the topics that we talked about today, or start your own. I promise to read them all. Finally, find me on Twitter and Instagram at yours truly, Mia_, and let's be friends. Tune into the next and last episode for an incredibly special time with not one professor, but 3 of my favorite mentors I've met here at JMU. It is sure to be a fun time because they're very fun people. Thanks again for listening, and remember, the best learning happens inside and outside the classroom. This is The Last Lap, and until next time, gotta run. The Last Lap is produced and edited by Mia Brabham, music by Brian Kim.